When we last left you, we were exploring the backroads and trails of Death Valley. Now we're gearing up for a few days on the Mojave Road.
We are outside of Barstow, California, about to start the Mojave Road. It is a little over 100 miles and it cuts across the Mojave National Preserve. And hopefully we'll get to see some cool stuff along the way and, I don't know, have some fun.
And let the fun begin. Things seemingly started off well until we made an unfortunate realization. We're off to a really good start. We just stopped because I saw something off in the distance and was curious what it was. But that has nothing to do with what we just discovered, is that we're going the wrong way. Apparently the very, very first spot where we had to make a decision on to go right or left, we went the wrong way. So we have some backtracking to do. In total, we've probably been driving the wrong way for about 30 minutes. So it'll end up being about an hour detour. But the good thing is we weren't planning on going all that far today. We just have one significant obstacle that we're trying to get over before we camp for the night. So we should be able to make that happen before the sun goes down.
Remember this sign? This is where everything went wrong. We followed the Mojave Road direction and, well, it does go on the Mojave Road, but we were supposed to go the other way. So now we're back and hopefully we will not mess this up again.
We started off in the right direction and managed to not get lost on our way to the biggest test of the Mojave Road. So the truck is about to cross this little water feature, and this is the second one. I'd estimate that at like 200 feet maybe. So I found a way to walk across, oh God, the creek so I can take video of the crossing, and it is real nasty. Oh, I don't want my pants to get wet. Sexy. Not too bad. So yeah, that's a lot of water. I think that this might end up being our deepest water crossing yet. That ended up being quite an understatement. That water was deep. So how'd it feel?
Never lost traction. Felt pretty good. It felt like I was underwater.
Did it? I mean, it looked like it. Oh my gosh, it was insane.
It was deeper than I thought it was going to be.
Oh. Do you think the camper has water in it?
That's what I was going to go check.
Okay. Luckily, there was no water in the camper, and we moved on with a dry living space. So we're not too far away from where Owen just did that first water crossing, which my heart was racing and I wasn't even the one driving. It's pretty impressive to see what this truck can do. It seriously blows us away all the time. But we do believe this to be the second and last water crossing for the entire drive. And it looks like it's kind of in 3 segments right now, none of which look too deep. Nothing is going to be at all like what we just did. So cakewalk. The water was shallow through the couple of pools there, and we made it through them easily. From there, we weaved through Afton Canyon as daylight began to fade. So we're not nearly as far along as we thought we would be, and we have about 45 minutes till sunset. So probably gonna have to stop somewhere that we were not planning on stopping. As we continued, the canyon walls faded away and we found ourselves in an open desert as the sun set. Then we pulled off to make camp for the night. think she slept through that whole drive. Come on! Come on, Luna. You can do it. Come on, girl. Come on. Put it into gear. Oh, it's not too bad. Seen way worse. Climb, Luna, climb, climb, climb.
So as you saw, we did a water crossing today, and the water came up to probably about here. So we found out the hard way when we parked for camp tonight that there's actually some holes for the wires for the air compressor. And so some water came in through there, and we've got a little puddle. So we've got it opened up now. Took everything out, and we're gonna let it dry overnight. But otherwise, all the other ones stayed pretty dry, so that was a good sign. And we didn't make it quite as far tonight because we got kind of a late start, but it's just sort of how those things go.
Didn't help that we misjudged a turn.
We did take a 1 hour detour in the wrong direction, so you're right, that definitely did not help. This morning we were at camp and we actually had someone come up and knock on our door, and it was someone that we met in Mexico on the side of the road about 3 years ago. We can't get mad about that. We spent the morning chatting with them and catching up, and yeah, it's just some of the good things about the road. You can't be in a rush sometimes. You just gotta go with the flow.
We had a peaceful night, except for one thing. Last night after the sun went down at camp, we hopped in the camper to make dinner. And then there was about an hour and a half to 2 hours that we think passed before I went back outside to go to the bathroom. And I went out again later to try to go to the bathroom, and my sandals, which I had definitely left just outside of the camper, were gone, which is weird because they were both gone and Owen's were sitting right next to mine and we're both there. So this morning we went looking for them because they were still nowhere to be found, and Owen was just coming back from the bathroom after probably an hour of searching, and he found this. So we suspected that this was an animal, and after finding this, I definitely think that's the case. There is a hole beneath here and I can only see one shoe, which is making me feel a little discouraged that we're not gonna find the other one. Yeah, it's just one. It's not chewed up at all, it's just really wet. Ugh. It wasn't wet when I left them outside, and I don't think it got very dewy last night. Ugh. Oh. This happened in Newfoundland. My shoes and Owen's shoes right next to each other, and both of Owen's were taken and mine weren't.
This is where we found that one sandal, and there's the truck for reference. So that's a good 50 to 100 yards.
So after a very long morning of searching for my other sandal, we only found the one. Owen did a really good job of pressing on while I was picking up camp so we could leave, but we had to call it. We have a lot of miles to get in today, so if you happen to do the Mojave Road and you find one bedrock sandal, call me. From camp, we pushed through some rocky terrain and made our way to the Traveler's Monument. Ta-da. All right, so I have an offering. This is the Traveler's Monument? Is what this place is called, and it looks like people have left inscribed rocks behind. And I have decided what we are gonna leave behind is this watermelon painted rock. I did not paint it, but we found it in Newfoundland about a year ago, actually a little more than a year ago. And it is a group that has a Facebook page, and they track them where they show up. So we've been carrying this guy for over a year, but I think it's time for him to go on his next journey. It's been good having you aboard. I think it's perfect. The Traveler's Monument sits at the edge of a dry lake bed, so the next few miles were spent traversing the ancient lake.
Washboards were getting pretty bad, so we just decided to air down. We actually have been meaning to, but we keep forgetting, so it's about time.
We also found that our gas nozzle was rubbing on the body. We could hear it, so I put this little piece of, it's actually foam boat decking, just to prevent any further rubbing. From there, we had some uneventful driving to an intersection with pavement where we turned off the Mojave Road to go check out Kelso Depot. Kelso Depot is an old train station that has been repurposed as the visitor center for the Park Service. It's a beautiful building with some interesting history, and if you're passing through, it's definitely worth a stop. After our short detour, we hopped back on the Mojave Road to continue our journey. Little did we know just how much of an adventure it was going to be. We'll finish up the Mojave Road next time.